Refugee Crisis by Rosa Friedman. The Conversation, published November 25, 2017, 08:30 p.m. The return shall commence within 2 months, said Bangladesh in a statement issued after talks between its Foreign Minister Mahmood Ali and Myanmar's civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi in Naypyidaw. Bangladesh Ministry of Foreign Affairs shined out at Rosa Friedman. The Conversation. Share tweet email Reddit print. Share tweet email Reddit print. Many Rohingya people who have fled the ethnic cleansing in Myanmar are now living as refugees in Bangladesh. And now, the two countries have reportedly struck a deal to return them home. Returning Rohingya people to the hands of their persecutors not only violates international law but raises fundamental questions about how the world protects those fleeing the most heinous crimes and abuses. This deal comes just days after Ratko Mladic was sentenced to life imprisonment for his role in the Srebrenica massacre, which took place in Bosnia, even as news cameras broadcast footage around the world, in much the same way as they have documented this latest crisis of ethnic cleansing. As far as Myanmar is concerned, the deal will ease the increasing pressure it faces from both the United Nations and its Asian neighbors. The Myanmar government has no interest in welcoming Rohingya refugees home with open arms. Those Rohingya who remain in Myanmar are treated as an alien people, denied citizenship and basic rights, and systematically persecuted. The Myanmar government maintains that the recent spike in violence did not amount to ethnic cleansing, that it was not state-sponsored, sanctioned or condoned, and that the Rohingya are safe to return. But those words are empty. Abundant first-hand reports and documentary footage all point to the same thing: ethnic cleansing conducted by state actors. Top UN officials have been using the term ethnic cleansing for some time, and the U.S. Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, is now using it too. Given that Myanmar is refusing to take responsibility for the atrocities, let alone to provide guarantees of protection and justice for the Rohingya, it beggars belief not just that the country is asking those refugees to return, but that Bangladesh would provide its support. Under international law, refugees who flee atrocities are afforded fundamental protections. Above all, they are protected by the principles of offering asylum and of non-refoulement, protection against return to a country where a person has reason to fear persecution. Bangladesh will of course insist that Myanmar wants these people to return, and that only those choosing to do so voluntarily will be returned. But that ignores the facts on the ground. Rohingya refugees' options are bleak: remain in the squalid camps, somehow escape into Bangladeshi society with no formal documentation or status, or return home and face persecution. Bangladesh has not acceded to the 1951 Refugee Convention or its 1967 Protocol. The country has no law to regulate the administration of refugee affairs or guarantee refugees' rights. And despite many decades of persecution and abuses in Myanmar, Bangladesh has never allowed the Rohingya to claim asylum. Those who make it to Bangladesh are placed in overcrowded camps without basic provisions, and there they remain unless they choose to return to Myanmar. The idea of voluntary return stems from a 1993 agreement between Bangladesh and Myanmar, under which those Rohingya who can prove their identity must fill in forms with the names of family members, their previous address in Myanmar, their date of birth, and a disclaimer that they are returning voluntarily. But those who do choose to return will face extortion, arbitrary taxation, and restrictions on freedom of movement. Many will be required to undertake forced labor, and some will face state-sponsored violence and extrajudicial killings. Those who remain in Bangladesh, on the other hand, face a lifetime in camps where human rights abuses are rife, with insufficient and inadequate food, water, housing or health care. Fleeing these camps leaves them undocumented and vulnerable to trafficking, exploitation and abuse. Whatever individual Rohingya people in Bangladesh might decide to do, their future is bleak. And that's not good enough. The international community has long known about the systematic persecution of this people. The international community has long ignored the atrocities perpetrated against them. And the international community has long tolerated the cover-ups and excuses from the government of Myanmar. This time it needs to be different. Bangladesh should step up and provide refuge to those who have been seeking it for 25 years. Myanmar's neighboring states and allies should help properly resettle the hundreds of thousands of undocumented Rohingya who have fled Myanmar, and Myanmar itself should be held to account for the atrocities it commits. There's no point saying never again unless action is taken. Rosa Friedman, Professor of Law, Conflict and Global Development, University of Reading. This article first appeared on The Conversation. We welcome your comments at letters@scroll.in. Rohingya Myanmar Bangladesh Rakhine conflict refugee crises. Sponsored content by published November 17, 2017 01:53 p.m. Created using IMG Flip. Share tweet email Reddit print. Share tweet email Reddit print. Having come of age in the age of the internet, millennials had a rocky start to self-expression. Indeed, the internet allowed us to personalize things in unprecedented fashion, and we really rose to the occasion. The learning curve to a straightforward first name surname at ____ mail.com email address was a long one, routed through cringeworthy email ids like coolgal1234 at hotmail.com. You know you had one. Making a personalized email id was a rite of passage for millennials after all. Declaring yourself to be cool, a star, a princess or a hunk boy was a given, for how else would the world know? Those with eclectic tastes, read juvenile groupies, would flaunt their artistic preferences with an elitist flair. You could take for granted that Beatlemania at hotmail.com and HPFan at yahoo.com would listen to Bollywood or read Archie comics only in private. The emo kids, meanwhile, had to learn the hard way that employers probably don't trust candidates with email ids such as depressingdystopian@gmail.com. Created using IMG Flip and with chat rooms, early millennials had found a way to communicate, with interesting results. The oldest crop of millennials, 30-year-olds, learned to deal with the realities of adolescent life hunched behind anonymous accounts, spewing their teenage hormone-laden angst, passion and idealism to other anonymous accounts. Skater_chick could hide her ineptitude for skating behind a convincing username and a skateboard-pedaling red-haired avatar, and you could declare your fantasies of world domination, armed with the assurance that no one would take you seriously. With the rise of blogging, millennial individualism found a way to express itself to millions of people across the world. The verbosity of intellectual millennials even shone through in their blog URLs and names. Girl Wa Travels could now opine on her adventures on the road to those who actually cared about such things. The blogger behind centopetunia.blogspot.com could choose to totally ignore petunias and no one would question why. It's a tradition still being staunchly upheld on Tumblr. You're not really a Tumblrer if you haven't been inspired to test your creative limits while crafting your blog URL. Fantasy literature and anime fandoms to pop culture fanatics and pizza lovers, it's where people of all leanings go to let their alter ego thrive. Created using IMG Flip, and of course social media became the new front of self-expression on the internet. Back when social media was too much of a millennial thing for anyone to meddle with, avatars and usernames were a window into your personality and fantasies. Suddenly, it was cool to post emo quotes of Meredith Grey on Facebook and update the world on the picturesque breakfast you had or not. Twitter upped the pressure by limiting expression to 140 characters, now 280. Have you heard? And the brevity translated to the Twitter handles as well. The trend of sarcasm and wit-laden handles is still alive well and has only gotten more sophisticated with time. The blogging platform Medium makes the best of Twitter intellect in long form. It's here that even businesses have cool account names. Self-expression on the internet and the millennials' love for the personalized and customized has indeed seen an interesting trajectory. Most millennial adolescents of yore, though, are now grown-ups, navigating an adulting crisis of mammoth proportions. How to wake up in time for classes, how to keep the boss happy, how to keep from going broke every month, how to deal with the new F word, finances don't judge. Finances can be stressful at the beginning of a career. Forget investments, loans, and debts. Even matters of simple money transactions are riddled with scary terms like beneficiaries, NEFT, IMPS, RTGS, and more. Then there's the quadruple checking to make sure you input the correct card, IFSC, or account number. If this wasn't stressful enough, there's the long wait while the check is cleared or the fund transfer is credited. Doesn't it make you wish there was a simpler way to deal with it all? If life could just be like. Created using IMG Flip. Lo and behold, millennial prayers have been heard. Airtel Payments Bank, India's first, has now integrated UPI on its digital platform, making banking over the phone easier than ever. Airtel Payments Bank UPI, or Unified Payment Interface, allows you to transfer funds and shop and pay bills instantly to anyone anytime without the hassles of inputting any bank details, all through a unique virtual payment address. In true millennial fashion, you can even create your own personalized UPI ID or virtual payment address (VPA) with your name or number, like Ria at Airtel or 99900111122 at Airtel. It's the smartest, easiest and coolest way to pay, frankly, because you're going to be the first person to actually make instant, costless payments, rather than claiming to do that and making people wait for hours. To make life even simpler, with the My Airtel app, you can make digital payments both and offline using the Scan and Pay feature that uses a UPI QR code. Imagine, no more running to the ATM at the last minute when you accidentally opt for card or don't have exact change to pay for a cab or coffee. Opening an account takes less than 3 minutes and remembering your VPA requires you to literally remember your own name. Get started with a more customized banking experience here. This article was provided by the Scroll marketing team on behalf of Airtel Payments Bank and not by the Scroll editorial team.